Alright guys, what is happening out there guys? Hope you're all well. Welcome along to your today's edition of 420 News. I'm your news anchor, Martin Condon, and 420 News guys is brought to you by Martin's World. Guys, hope everybody is well out there. I know I'm doing pretty well. Had a pretty amazing weekend. Got to hang out again with the family, kids, and yeah, great weekend had. And yeah, had a busy old morning then this morning. Sadly, didn't get to spend as much time preparing for 420 News, but had the honour of doing other things, which is a very pleasurable thing I do, is cook for the family. Yeah, we had a big slab of beef there that needed to be chopped up and prepared, and yeah, I enjoyed doing that, but sadly, it took away a bit of time from me preparing today's show. So today's show is just going to feature news from mainly around Ireland. We have one news story just outside of Ireland, but everything else is inside in Ireland. So the first piece of news I have for you today, guys, is it's actually kind of a bit of a news exclusive, a first for Martin's World. Normally, I'm reporting other people's news, but this has this has been sent to me by a quite a reliable source. And what you see here in this photo, if you're looking at it, is a couple of Gardai outside of the Dublin Funky Skunk store. So word on the street is this afternoon the Gardaí carried out a raid of the Dublin Funky Skunk store. So we've reached out there to a couple of people above there, and have got no comment back yet, no reply. So I've nothing to add to this news story yet, but a very good source has told me that the Gardaí were up there today. They tried to go into the store, and the Gardaí said, no, the store is closed. And he was kind of like, "Why, what's the story?" And yeah, they were like, "No, this is a raid where Gardaí, get out of here." So yeah, if I get any comments there or any further updates as to what happened above there, I will certainly get it back to you. But most likely, I'm assuming this is in relation to the sale of the CBD flowers. The CBD flowers. If you don't know, I had a very good conversation there with Jim Weathers the other day. Quite a good conversation. Check that out if you haven't yet. But we go into detail there as to all the details around the illegal sale of CBD flowers in Ireland. And sadly, this morning we have the Gardaí going in there, wasting their time, taking away product from people, that isn't actually going to get them high if it's the CBD flowers they're taking out of there. But they do provide tremendous benefits in other areas, such as reduction in anxiety, reduction in inflammation, help with calming and relaxation. So it's just sad to see that the Gardaí are still getting caught up in this. And again, our policymakers are, where are they in this? We're supposed to be having a citizens' assembly in Ireland, but I think we've better chance of getting blood from a stone right now than getting this from the government. I haven't heard of any date being set for it, or any progress being made on that. So as I say, watch this space. If there's updates on the Funky Skunk or the Citizens Assembly, I'll certainly be getting that back to you guys. But yeah, that was the first piece of news there today. It's the Gardaí were up there above in Dublin raiding the Funky Skunk store. So the next piece of news, guys, is going to bring us to again to Dublin, and it's kind of it's to do with the PSA I kind of put out to you all the time, is to know your source, and be careful who you're buying your drugs from, whether it be cannabis or cocaine, or any other drugs you buy. Just know your source and be careful of who you might be supporting. So allegedly, there's a guy, a major violent drug dealer. Um, he's a part of the biggest dog stealing scheme in Ireland. So what's apparently happening is this guy is recruiting drug addicts, and he's paying them up to 150 € a day, and he's picking them up in the city, and he's dropping them off to the outskirts of the city, to more, I don't know, posher kind of places, or what have you. I don't know where he's actually dropping them. But the story is he's taking these drug addicts, and he's dropping them off, and he's getting them to point out where valuable dogs are that are worth stealing, and they're even going in and stealing them then, you know. But this is an important one out there, like just to know your source. And it's also another one then to our regulator or the policymakers out there. You know, here we have it like it's another example of how prohibition is a massive burden on our society, where you have people who are addicted to drugs, unable to get help, and you know, they're forced then to partake in this sort of criminality because their drug dealer is a criminal too, and he'll recruit them into it. Whereas, you know, if we were to take a bit more of a compassionate approach, and if people actually have a drug addiction and they're really addicted to drugs, you know, they should be able to sign up to some sort of a program where they get help with their addiction. You know, we already supply people, let's say for a person addicted to heroin, we already give people methadone as a means of harm reduction, but why not just give them the heroin? Because apparently that the methadone is actually a lot worse than the heroin in terms of trying to get off it. And a lot of people then they risk overdose when they go use some methadone, and then if they go and shoot up some heroin later on, you know, there's a major risk of them overdosing because of the interactions there between the two drugs. It's just a crying shame that we're so ignorant in our approach to this, that we would leave these people who are very vulnerable, you know, a drug addict, you know, they don't choose to be addicted. Like, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I'm going to go out and get addicted to drugs. There's many people out there who will use drugs and not get addicted, but sadly there is a percentage of people out there who will use the same drugs and to get addicted, and they shouldn't be at this kind of a risk where the people selling them the drugs, preying on them for their addiction, are now preying on them even worse by making them go out and commit these other crimes. Do you know? And as I say, when you have prohibition in place, you blur the lines there in criminality. A person who takes drugs might easily view themselves as a criminal, thereby making it much easier for them to go ahead and steal a person's dog, grab your granny's handbag as she's walking down the road. You know, sadly, that is the case. People will go and do these kind of things to feed their habit, you know, and it's a lot of the times it's the fault of ignorant policies that try to push this kind of behavior into the underworld in our society, and thereby putting society at large just more at risk. You know, so the sooner we can legalize and regulate these drugs, the better. Starting with cannabis, it's probably one of the easiest ones out there. But as well with heroin, you know, there's a great model out there in Switzerland that we could easily adopt here in Ireland, and it would do us tremendous benefit, especially when it comes to tackling scumbags like this who will go out and rob your dog, and also preying on vulnerable people to go and steal your dog. You know, so it's a double-edged sword out there really for some people. Like, it's very hard for them to get help, and a lot of the times the only help that they get comes in this kind of form. You know, go on out there and rob a dog, and I'll give you free drugs. Sound. So yeah, that's more good news there for the prohibitionists out there, you know. So other news, guys, up there above in Dublin. So we've our Gardaí again out there. They went and they carried out a raid in a house, and they found some cannabis, crack cocaine, and some cash up there. So it was about €8,000 in cannabis. There was another sum of crack cocaine there, and a substantial amount of cash there as well, a couple of €1,000. But like, you know, it's just more signs there, more evidence as to. Oops, sorry, I'm pulling on my headphones. There's just more evidence there as to how our drug policies are failing. You know, cannabis and cocaine being sold together again. Like, it's evidence as to how the gateway theory around cannabis is, holds any truth. It's because it's sold alongside of the other drugs by the same drug dealers, you know. So when you're young 16, 17 year old, when they're curious and experimental about cannabis, let's say, rather than say in a place where cannabis is legal and regulated, queuing up outside of a dispensary and asking maybe some adult ID holding adults to go in for them, Instead they have it here where they can easily access cannabis from the street from a drug dealer without ID, who will give it to them on tick as well, and give them a large amount of it too, and recruit them into drug dealing, sadly, it's just more wasted effort, and again, this is another intelligence-led operation, like where Gardaí are working off of information, but as I say, this information leads to the Gardaí needing to hold meetings, and it's not just one or two Gardaí. And imagine there's a team of Gardaí inside in the room going over the briefing, taking up time and energy and taxpayers' money again to tackle this stuff, you know. So complete joke, and yeah, the next part of the news then again is just pretty much more of the same. Again, more highlighting how prohibition is a massive, massive burden on our society and puts society at large in danger. So the next item here, what you're looking at, if you're looking at this at all in the video, you have a table which it has a lot of cash spread out. It has euros and pounds there. You see a lot of cannabis there as well. Well, one big bag of cannabis, and then you have a bulletproof vest. So like, there's no need like to be having cannabis and bulletproof vest really. Like, it's only prohibition that creates this situation. In America, when they legalized and regulated it, the guys, because of just the ignorance that was there again, the only reason bulletproof vests were required is because the banks wouldn't let the cannabis dispensaries deposit their money. So they had to hire ex-military personnel to go around with their assault rifles, heavy armored vehicles, and they'd be storing massive quantities of cash there again, just because of ignorance from the guys there in the banks. But here in Ireland, because of the ignorance of policymakers, people who refuse to regulate the sale and supply of cannabis, we know of like our criminals going around with bulletproof vests to protect themselves, because there's so much money out there for them to make in this industry, the drug underworld. They now have to protect themselves from one another, from the other gangs out there who fight for their territory. They'll, if anybody's selling their turf, go in and shoot them up, I suppose, or maybe use the baseball bat or these swords that are also on the table here with the drugs and the money. It's an aluminium looking baseball bat, and I don't think these guys were into the recreational activity of playing baseball. That bat was there for one purpose and one purpose alone, and it's violence. And I'd say these swords are probably just some sausage fool, drug dealer guy who thinks he's the sham, and goes, "Oh, look at me hit my sword. I think I'm decent." That's probably that case there too. There probably is sword enthusiasts out there, but also there is some dopey sham scumbags who think like having a sword is decent. But yeah, it's just it's a joke. So three men were arrested here in this, one 48 and two in their 30s, and they also seized a BMW, a 5 Series BMW, and again, this is another intelligence-led operation into what they call actually here crime groups in Darndale. It's not crime gangs anymore now, it's crime groups apparently. I don't know why that changed there in the terminology, but yeah, that was just something interesting. Crime groups now, yeah, organized crime groups. Yeah, they're nicer than the gangs. I don't know, but there you have it. More wasted time, energy, and resources by the guys in Ireland. What a fucking joke! Like, why can't we just legalize and regulate it? And all of that money there that you see on the table could be going to fixing potholes into fucking road, and to paying a wage to the growers that grow the cannabis, and to the people that facilitate the sale of the cannabis. In America, they call them bud tenders, not drug dealers, bud tenders, and the guys who grow the cannabis too, they're cannabis growers, they're farmers, they're not drug growers, you know. So, in other news, guys, in Ireland, before we get over onto the little bit of news I have from the UK, we've another piece of news from Ireland, and it's just a little short piece. It's that Greenlight Medical. If you haven't heard of those guys before. It's a company that's owned and run by a guy, James Linden, apparently. They've made the news before, not the 420 news, but other news articles, when they've gotten like millions of investment there to carry out research and into patients and product development. I think that's what they got funded for. But just recently, now why they're in the news today is because 25% of their company has been bought up by another German company called Synbiotic. Is it? Yeah, Synbiotic, Syn Biotic, Synbiotic. So they bought a 25% share in the company, and they also have an option there to be buying more shares in the company later on. Um, I'm hoping that maybe I might be able to get in touch with James or whoever is in charge up there in Greenlight Medicines to come on and have a conversation about the work they do, because I'm very curious as to the work that they do, and why is it that people like Vera Toomey still has to go to The Hague, to the Transvaal pharmacy over there, and to get their medicine. Obviously, now they have the emergency exclusion that it's to be delivered to them, but quite soon they could see themselves being forced to actually get in a plane and have to travel over again. I haven't heard any updates whether they got the extension on that emergency exemption on the delivery of their medicine. But I'd be very curious why James Linden and Greenlight Medicine aren't providing the medicine in Ireland. It's an Irish registered medical cannabis company that's involved in the production or the development of medicinal cannabis products. So I don't know what the story is there. Like, they get a lot of money coming into them. What actually happens to that? Like, have they grown any cannabis in Ireland at all? I've a couple of questions there for him, so I would love to have him on. I've reached out to him before, and I'll reach out to him again to see if I can get any further comment on it. But until then, like, yeah, that's kind of where that news piece ends, really. 25% of their company bought up by a German company. More money passing hands, but yeah, sadly, patients are still without a medicine, and Ireland, still in the Stone Ages when it comes to cannabis regulation and the production of medical cannabis. We really are in the dark, and way behind others who are kind of really leading the way. And it's a shame. It's a massive missed opportunity for Ireland to not be at the forefront of medicinal cannabis. You've other countries out there, like I was reporting on Thailand last week. They're really kind of grabbing the bull by the horns when it comes to medical cannabis. I think they've got four very large medicinal cannabis production facilities up and running, where they grow and process the medicine and dispense it to patients in clinics and hospitals. So well done to the Thai government, and they even had their health minister out there planting some plants at that facility. Stephen Donnelly, come on, boy, get the finger out, seriously. You're showing up the Irish people on the world stage when it comes to medical cannabis. Like, we're the Emerald Isle. Like, come on, we should really be leading the way when it comes to this green medicine. So I'll update there if I get any response back from Greenlight Medicines as to answers to those questions, or if they'll even come on for an interview. You know. So the next piece I'll talk about, guys, is Tommy Corbin. So I don't know if you know of Tommy Corbin, but Tommy Corbin is the son of the UK's Labour Party leader. He's the ex-Labour Party leader, Jeremy Corbyn. So here he is pictured alongside his son Tommy, and behind them you see Tommy's girlfriend. So Tommy makes today's 420 news because he was kind of having a lash out there at the Dorset police. So the East Dorset police put up a post there on Twitter, and like the police do, they gloat about their seizures and their raids and all of this kind of carry on. And it is quite annoying, really, as an activist and as a person who wants to see progressive change in our policies when it comes to cannabis. And then you see the police coming out and gloating about the work they carry out. So this is the post here by the East Dorset police. And it says officers from Winburn Safer Neighbourhood Team successfully executed a drug warrant in Corfmullen this afternoon. A male has been arrested on suspicion of being concerned in the supply of drugs, and a quantity of cash and cannabis has been seized. We will act on community intelligence, rats, and we will welcome any information so we can work together to protect our residents. You know, they'll work together to protect our residents. Have they liaised with all of the residents? You know, what about the residents who potentially could have been getting cannabis from this garden as a medicine? You know, did you liaise with those residents? Do you have any concern for the needs and the welfare of those residents who rely on these criminals to grow their drugs for them, cannabis, because it provides them relief from certain conditions, and it's mainly because, you know, as Tommy rightly points out, they can't afford the luxury of going down to one of these expensive clinics and paying for these over the top prescriptions for an ounce of cannabis, when they can just go to these dealers and get an ounce of cannabis for, I don't know what the going rate in the UK is, but I don't know, between 100 and 200 pound, I'd say, like somewhere in that range anyway, depending on how nice or stingy or uh, cannabis grower or dealer is. um, so that's the post there from those guys, and I have a couple of comments there as well from Tommy to go through. Um, the next one is a little bit of a lengthy one from Tommy, but here it is anyhow. So Tommy Corbin posts. So this was sharing that last post that I just read to you. So he shared that post, and this is his comment on that post. The obnoxious trend of local police forces boasting about aggressive house raids for tiny amounts of cannabis, just the likes, really pisses me off. This successful seizure looks like less than half an ounce of cannabis and £40 in cash. If you can afford it, you can go to a private doctor on Harley Street and pay for an ounce of your very own legal cannabis. Um, it has all the same cannabinoids, it has THC, it is psychoactive, and you could grow the exact same strain at home. Yet the people who have access to that expensive, exclusive legal cannabis don't risk their front door being kicked in. They don't risk losing custody of their kids. They don't risk going to prison. The system rewards their privilege with safety. Whoever this was done to, if you need any help finding legal support groups, I'm on info at nationalhempservice.co.uk and would be happy to put you in touch. So Tommy Corbin there also, I should have added at the beginning of this, owns and operates the National Hemp Service, and which is a kind of a Facebook page, and he also has a store on one of the streets there within London. So like Tommy has lashed out there at the cops. Really, like he's just kind of pissed off because when you actually see what it is that the cops took from him, it's a complete joke. I'll pull her up on the screen, like, but it's a tiny, tiny amount of cannabis, and like there really was no need for it at all. Here in this first photo, you have the door of the house. Now keep in mind, like, that this could be the door of a house of a family, like, you know. Um, so here it is. This is the door there. This is a photo that was shared on that post, you know, along from the Dorset police. They added that up, like, so you see that, like, that's done with a fucking console or something. Like, can you imagine, like, I don't know what time of the day it was for this raid, but imagine you just sitting down having your cup of tea, maybe having a spliff or something, and next to all there is, you know, a fucking a console coming through your door, like, and wait until, like, you see the drugs then that they actually have, like, it's criminal, like, that they're even allowed to get away with this, like, absolutely criminal that they can get away with this. Give me one more second there now, and I will pull up the drugs that they have. and the cash, just so you can see this and kind of have a bit of a giggle at it as well. Like, sorry enough for not having this one up there. I put the comment up, but I never included these photos as well. But like, what an absolute joke! Like, so here's this other one now. Like, there you go. Like, look at that bag of cannabis there now. It's fucking tiny. Look at it. There's not even an ounce in it. Like, and like, go back, go back. Look at the door. Like, look at the cannabis. Oh my god! Like, what are the cops at? Like I know I heard that the UK cops are supposed to have a bit more of a lenient approach when it comes to cannabis and what have you. Like, but man, this just is like, nin, 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 nin. Cops coming in your door. Like, imagine you've kids in there. Like, I really hope to God there wasn't kids in there. Like, because that's scary to think of. Like, I could have that amount of cannabis in my house, and like the cops then would say that that's a very successful seizure. Like, I also own a scales, like, and because the cops then see a weighing scales alongside cannabis, like, instantly they say you're a drug dealer, and they went ahead and they took £40 off the guy as well, and they're going to say it's the proceeds of crime. What a joke! Like, no, all right. In fairness, to the defense of the cops, this guy obviously was selling it because he has a load of baggies here to be seen, in with the scales. But like, come on, like, they could have knocked at his door, like, and came in, be nice about it. Like, feck it, if he was going to flush the cannabis down the toilet, like, so what? So what? Like, there's no need to come through a person's door with a feckin' cotton saw. Like, really, like, it's ridiculous. It's way over the top. Like, and you see here as well, like, in the right corner in the photo as well, there's actually you can see a little box, and that's obviously the box of a smoker. Like, so this guy was obviously a smoker himself, and he possibly just sold it to a couple of friends, you know. Like, he was the one who just took the risk, and he was selling to a couple of friends. Like, how many guys, honestly, how many people are out there right now who do this? Like, you buy an ounce and you share it with your friends, and maybe you benefit or maybe you don't. Maybe you all pay equally, or maybe you benefit that you get your bit a bit cheaper, or maybe for free, because you took the risk of picking up the ounce or getting it delivered to your house or something. Like, but the cops now will come along and say, like, you're a massive drug dealer, because of that. Maybe they find evidence in your phone because you were splitting it up with your friends. Like, it's just backwards. Like, and I completely agree there with Tommy and everything he says. And yeah, I'll reach out to Tommy and see if he wants to come on and have a chat about what's going on in the UK. I'm sure he'd be an interesting character to have on, and to see what the crack is there with himself, and maybe get a bit of insight into politics in the UK there from his dad. It'd be good crack to have two of them on having a smoke. I wonder, does his dad smoke? Like, surely he does. Like, surely Jeremy's a bit partial to the old talk. um, so guys, yeah, just to drive it on anyway, not to linger too long on that. We get back on to Limerick. So the final piece of today's news is it's a bit annoying. It's a bit comical. There's a bit of reefer madness kind of type of shit thrown in here, really, from someone like you'd expect a bit more from him, really. Like, but I suppose maybe you don't actually, like. But this guy is the chief superintendent, Gerard Roche. He was addressing the Limerick's joint policing committees, the third quarterly meet up. So these guys meet once every 3 months there, at the expense of the taxpayers, mind you. And they have a fancy old shindig, actually. I went to an open one year, and got to meet and brush elbows with all of these guys, the chief superintendents of around the place. And there was a few TDs there as well on the day, or no, actually, sorry, Luke Flanagan was there, but he was there for the farming conference. Actually, he wasn't there for the drug conference, but I was. And yeah, that was an interesting one to be there at that joint policing committee, and to sit and talk with some of these guys. You know, I was there representing the Students for Sensible Drug Policy, and obviously was kind of pro drug policy reform. But these guys were like very much like committed to doubling down on the war on drugs and to being tougher on drug dealers and drug users and all of this, all in the means of kind of convincing people not to use drugs, to scare people away from using drugs by punishing them. Sadly, as I say a while ago, these people who are addicted to drugs are victims. Sadly, like not everybody gets addicted to drugs. Even uh, this chief superintendent actually makes comment here in a while as to like there's people using cocaine who are holding down full-time jobs quite successfully and using cocaine at the weekend. Yet this chief superintendent has a major problem with that. Now, his problem with that is because they're using cocaine, and they're supporting crime network and the black market and all of this stuff. But really, like, if he really has a problem, like, it's not actually with the people using cocaine. It's actually with the policies that allow cocaine to be sold by criminals. If the cocaine was supplied through the pharmacy, let's say, or through some sort of a regulated model thought out by some sort of an expert out there, not me anyway, I'm not an expert on this. But if you had a very good model there for people to be getting their cocaine, you wouldn't have all the bloodshed and devastation that's attributed to it currently within like the places where it's grown. You know, farmers growing it under gunpoint, guys transporting it again under gunpoint, people shoving massive amounts of cocaine into places where it shouldn't be shoved, risking death basically, and it's a scary one. I was reading stories there going back. I can remember being doing these with the SSDP, actually, kind of covering different news articles back then. And there was one with a woman pregnant, and a pregnant woman actually is a bit more valuable to these drug smugglers, because it's a bit more of a cover there. Like they're not going to be a bit more suspect of a pregnant woman. So there was pregnant women being targeted by drug smuggling groups, for smuggling cocaine. Um, it's sad. It's sad. And this Limerick guy anyway, this chief superintendent there, he has some comments and warnings about cannabis and edibles. Yeah, it's a funny one again. Like funny but sad. So give me 1 second there, guys, and I'm going to transfer you on over here now to the video with this chief superintendent.
It's a societal issue as much as a Garda Síochána issue. We won't deal with this on our own. We have a whole strategy for dealing with it, but it's multi-agency, it's multifaceted, and we're dealing with it as well as we can. But people, again, have to take the personal responsibility. The drug driving, we're catching people who have taken cannabis or cocaine at a party maybe on the Saturday night or in the pub or wherever it is, and we're catching them driving on Wednesday or Friday, and that's very indicative of society at the moment. And people just have to stop. They have to stop. They have to think about the damage that they're doing. Drugs are illegal for a good reason. They're dangerous, and they need to comply.
And you mentioned the fact, there is the cocaine in particular. You said that it doesn't give you the extra calories, it doesn't give you the hangover effect, but people are going to lose their licenses and possibly their jobs.
Yes, and I think that should be a very sobering effect for them all, and companies are quite strict about this. An awful lot of the international companies have it. J1s, students who are caught, won't get J1s. They won't get in. They won't get to go and work. They won't get visas in Australia, America, and everywhere. And that needs to be emphasised. But we're blue in the face emphasising it. We're saying this for generations. 30 years I'm saying it, and people aren't listening.
Yeah. Final question. What are cannabis jellies?
Cannabis jellies are just a jelly with the cannabis oil in them, which gives a very high THC content. The problem is when they see them, they taste them, they taste very much like ordinary sweets, and people take too many of them, or kids take them, and it's also seen as a way to get teenagers, particularly young teenagers, involved in the taking of cannabis and drugs by unscrupulous drug dealers.
So there you have it, guys. Like more scare and fearmongering there by these guys. Like, your man, like where does he get off? Like, honestly, does he actually really believe this nonsense that he's spouting? Like come off the stage. Like I have a couple of issues with things he said there, big time. He turned around and he said that there's people out partying on Friday and Saturday night, smoking cannabis and taking cocaine, and we're catching them driving on Wednesday, Thursday. Like, seriously, lad, come on. Like, if you're actually admitting to being aware that people are taking drugs on a Friday or Saturday, and you're catching them up to 5 or 6 days later, and you're still happy to punish them, man, you're a prick. Honestly, like, seriously, that just pisses me off. I would love to call you just a Nazi scumbag, like, but like, it's just horrible that you're aware of this and you're happy to continue with doing this. Like, why isn't a person free to enjoy their Friday or Saturday night and not be at risk of losing like their job, their driving license, their livelihood, because they enjoyed themselves on a Friday or Saturday night, and because you don't agree with how they enjoyed themselves, dude, you're like, that's just bad form. You're just inhumane. Like, where's the compassion in that at all for your fellow humans? There is none. Honestly, there is none. Like, he's openly admitting to being aware of the pain and suffering he's causing to people. It's not the drugs causing it to the people, it's him. Like, people get addicted to drugs, and the addiction causes them problems. People can use drugs and not get addicted, and the drugs don't cause them problems. So by logic, drugs don't cause problems. Being addicted to a drug causes a problem, and getting caught with drugs causes problems. Like, getting caught with drugs is probably the biggest problem out there, because at least if you've a drug addiction, there's addiction services and you can go get help. But if you get caught with drugs, like, well, where do you go? Like, I had nowhere to go when I was feeling suicidal because of how these scumbag guards treated me and spoke to me. Like, the judges, like, they're scumbags. Like, they have no care and compassion for me, for my mental state, for my viewing of myself, when they were speaking to me and trying to just lower my opinion of myself because of this behavior that they didn't agree with. Like, they're absolute vile scumbags. Sorry to any guards out there. Like, I know you're just doing your job, but man, if you're going to go on camera like this guy and openly admit to the ruining and destroying people's lives because they use the drug on a Friday or Saturday night, and you're catching them on a Wednesday or a Thursday, you're a low life scumbag. Like, you're down there in the ranks of that fella out there using the drug dealers to steal dogs. Like, you're using the addicts to climb up the ranks, to big up yourself. Like, most of the people who get caught with drugs are personal drug users. Like, just to throw it out there, when I went to the Joint Policing Committee meeting back in 2016, that was, in Cork City Hall, the figures from 2014 to 2015 for drugs in the city, 77% of people who were caught with drugs were caught with cannabis. And of all the people who were caught with drugs, I think it was 92% of them were caught with drugs for personal possession reasons, meaning 8% of the people getting caught with drugs were for drug dealing. There's your numbers from the Joint Policing Committee. That's how successful your war on drugs actually is. We've some other scaremongering from this pleb, Gerard Roche, and he really is a pleb. He's going on the camera, like, speaking from, like, he's a chief superintendent. Like, he has a bit of standing in our society. There's people out there who actually respect what this guy has to say. But if you actually have any bit of knowledge in the area, you just lose all respect for this guy straight away when he comes on talking the way he does and spouting the nonsense he has, you know. Like he says on it, we regard the use of cannabis jellies and jellies, or cannabis juices and jellies as a very serious trend because they are designed really to trap and encourage people, particularly young teenagers, to take drugs, particularly cannabis, and make them really harmless looking along the lines of alcopops from an alcohol point of view. Like, what ridiculous logic is in that? No, people are not making cannabis edibles to lure teenagers into taking cannabis. Like, no, people are making cannabis edibles because cannabis edibles taste fucking nice, and the experience of it is very enjoyable too. Once you don't indulge too much, you know, and that's why people are making cannabis edibles. Like, the teenagers can't even afford these things a lot of the times unless they're well paid by their parents or have a job or something. I don't know, but I would find it hard to keep up buying these cannabis edibles unless maybe I was dealing, you know. And a lot of the times that is how the kids are actually getting into this, you know. And it's not cannabis edibles at all. Actually, it's this glamorous and luxurious lifestyle that some of the drug dealers kind of push out there, the image they push on there. And also, you're not seeing the media too, you know, you've movies and things like that. A lot of the times it glamorizes the life of drug dealers. And for young people in disadvantaged areas, it's the easiest job actually for a lot of them to get into is drug dealing, you know. And we have this sausage, Gerard Roche, like he's a prohibitionist, a staunch supporter of prohibition. And you know, he said he's on about this worrying trend. If he was really worried, like he should jump the fence onto the other side and come support policy change that can put these drugs that he talks about and warns people about in behind doors, in behind a closed and regulated, into a closed and regulated environment where there's an age limit at the door, so kids can't get access to them. And if the kids do get access to them, at least they're coming from a quality assured place where there will be indicators on the label as to the strength and the potency of the products, like all in the guise of harm reduction and in informed consumerism, because there's so many people out there now buying these cannabis products and it might say one thing on the label, but honestly they have no way of being assured that what's in the product is actually what's said on the label. Even in the regulated market, there's problems with assuring this. So why would the unregulated market be any different? You know. He also adds then that the head of the Limerick Garda division actually. So this is some other pleb, I'd imagine, some other fool. So he has warned a dangerous trend of young people and teenagers consuming cannabis jellies with some overdose, and you know what, like there's no evidence there that young people are overdosing at all. Like, and again, it goes down to the scaremongering. Like, is having an uncomfortable experiencing, like getting too high, is that overdosing? Like when you hear overdosing, you imagine something that's not what you see with cannabis overdoses. Like you think of an overdose being somebody with a needle in their hand and like convulsing on the floor and foaming from the mouth and all of this kind of crack, like or you know, an extreme overdose. What you actually have with cannabis overdoses, like, is a person maybe sleeping for 2 days or something, like maybe having a heightened state of paranoia, maybe thinking their heart is beating too fast because for the first time in a long time they can actually hear their heartbeat because they're just very present in the moment and not caught up in all of the crazy thoughts that might have been running through their head, you know. But like here we have this guy saying that people are overdosing. There's no overdosing on it, and he warns kids take one or two jellies and overdose. He said it's a growing trend they are worried about across the country. So one or two jellies and they're overdosing. Again, I said it a few minutes ago, like regulation is the answer here, because if a kid is eating one or two jellies and they're overdosing, that means there's probably way too much inside in those jellies. And maybe it wasn't what was on the label, maybe it was what's on the label, and the kids weren't educated as to how much they should be consuming, because unlike kids who would understand like that, you know, a bottle of beer and a bottle of vodka are much different. Kids today don't understand that a 10 milligram edible, a 100 milligram edible, and a 1000 milligram edible are major differences. But they don't see that, as the cop kind of rightly pointed out. One thing, like, they just see a jelly, and that's all it is. A lot of people aren't very educated as to what 100 milligrams of THC would do to you. You know, or, again, I point out before, in California, I think the regulation is 10 milligrams is the recommended single serving for an adult. So 10 milligrams, and a lot of these edibles are coming in 60, 100, and 600. So it's kind of, again, you know, just more argument there really for the need to legalise it and regulate it. You know, in the Cork Joint Policing Committee there, they talk about in Limerick, in the same 3 quarterly period, so from January to September in this year, they've seen a 46% increase in drug seizures in the Limerick area. So just the Limerick area alone. So this year alone, they're just shy of 2 million being seized in the in drugs in the Limerick area, and a lot of that is cannabis edibles. Actually, there was €100,000 worth of cannabis edibles and juices. So, excuse me, there was €50,000 of each. So cannabis edibles and juices. So quite a popular thing now at the moment. I think there was 500,000 worth of cannabis, about 900,000 or 700,000 of heroin, or cocaine, and about 300,000 of heroin there seized so far this year. But again, look, it's just indicator that the war on drugs has failed, guys. Failed. The criminals are getting more and more drugs to the streets. More and more people are getting addicted and stigmatized and pushed away then from the harm reduction services, the addiction services out there. Because for a lot of the addiction services, they stigmatize people. They make them come in and use terms like clean. Like, so if you're on drugs, you're dirty. Like that's very stigmatizing terminology for people to be using to describe these people. And it's stuff we need to push away from. As I say, in Switzerland, they have heroin-assisted therapies where people register, they come in 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, nice and early, they get their dose of heroin and they go out and they work, because they're after, you know, finding their place back in society. And the program today doesn't have any of the original people who signed up to it from day one. So it's a major success in getting people off of the drugs, but also in preventing overdoses. They still haven't had an overdose to date an overdose death in their supervised in drug injection centers in Switzerland, where they provide the heroin. You know, an open to correction on that, but the last time I checked, that was the standing fact, that there has been no drug overdose deaths in the drug supervised injection rooms in Switzerland since they brought them about. So very promising news, but sadly, you know, our policymakers here in Ireland are way behind. Other worrying things actually in that is the Cork Joint Policing Committee meeting there. They added this, that because of COVID-19 and the size of the current court lists in Limerick, it could be 2022 before some trials can take place. That's horrible. Absolutely horrible. So let's say you're going down the road in Limerick and you get caught with your knowledge tomorrow, today, whatever. And let's say you're just about to graduate college. Limerick has a university up there. It has a pretty big university. And like, is that not a worrying thing to be living with like that for what, maybe 2 years? You're going to be unsure of whether you're going to have a criminal conviction or not, or what the judge is going to do, what's in store for you in the future. For a very weak-minded person, like that could be enough to drive a person to take their life. Like and today, actually, I think it's today, possibly yesterday, but today is World Mental Health Awareness Day. I think that's what it was. Helen McAtee, our Justice Minister, anyway, put out a tweet there earlier about it. And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's World Mental Health Awareness Day. We need to be considerate of those other people who might be different to us." Yeah, what a two-faced bitch. Seriously, like you're the justice minister, and you talk about like respecting other people who might be different, and mental health problems. And seriously, drug addiction is probably it's a major unaddressed mental health problem out there, because what else can you call a drug addiction other than a mental health problem? Self-destructive behavior, in that kind of leads to the destruction of your social life, your maybe your job life, your family life, all of that kind of stuff. That's definitely a mental health problem. You know, you're incapable of caring for your person. That's a mental health problem. And meanwhile, our Justice Minister is doing nothing actually. She's standing over the drug policies that discriminate against these people in our society that have a mental health problem, drug addiction. So, Helen McEntee, there you go. Look, there's a little shout out to you, girl. Hope you're well. Unlike some of these drug addicts that you treat through the criminal justice system, you know, you are the Justice Minister after all. So shout out there to you on this day that you tweeted about. You know, you two-faced woman. Do something about it. Come on, change your drug policy. At least have an adult conversation anyway. Like, don't shy away from these discussions. Come on, get out there. Like, have our citizens' assembly, and let's have some honest, rational debates. And let's not spout this war on drugs propaganda that you love and you're so fond of, and you find it very hard to let go of. Like, if you really are that fond of it, come on, let's have a rational debate on these points. I'd happily have a discussion with you here if you want to come on the podcast and have a discussion around our drug policies. So there you go, Helen McAtee. There's an invite to you, girl. You know, I'll be very respectful to you on the day. Won't be shouting and all, and we can hash it out. You can pick apart my views and opinions, and let me do the same to yours, and maybe change some policies as well. Very much a long shot. Stranger things have happened. But any other comments there from the guys? No, I don't have anything else to add there now from that Cork Joint Policing Committee, and that's the end of today's 420 news. Geez, I actually thought that was going to go ahead a bit faster, but we're at 50 minutes thereabouts, and yeah, we didn't even leave Ireland. Well, we did for Jeremy Corbyn. We made one exception, but sure, it's the UK. We should take them over, actually, make England great. Welcome. Get rid of the Queen. Two island nations, republics. Take no notice of me. Guys, I'm just going to quickly fly on over to the comments out there before I say any more silly stuff. Hope everybody's well out there. And Dave, man, what's the story? Isn't it a crying shame that stealing a dog is easier than getting help in this country? Yeah, you're dead right, man. Yeah, it is, and that is a sad reality for many people out there. That unlike the health services out there, you know, a lot of the times the drug dealer actually provides the help for them, but not the follow-up therapies then that actually are needed to maybe help them address the underlying issues there that are causing their addiction, you know. And Ken then adds that no one wants to be an addict. I'm a recovering addict. My choice of drug was alcohol and coke. Very dangerous when abused. Alcohol ruins lives, ends lives, but is legal madness. You know, it is madness that alcohol is legal and others are illegal, but I would never argue for alcohol to be illegal, but I would definitely use it as an example to why other drugs should be legal, because like we can live with the harms caused by alcohol. There's many people out there will use alcohol and not develop an addiction like yourself can, but we don't take alcohol away from them because others get addicted to it. You know, we help those people. We provide services. We provide education. And most importantly, we don't criminalize them for the behavior because they get addicted. No, like if a person gets addicted, like it's not a choice they made. Nobody chooses to be an addict. It's not, like, sadly. Yeah, John Mulligan adds here that gangs are getting offended. Gangs are getting offended being called drug gangs, and they're calling them drug groups now. So Kenan adds to that in order of political correctness, and then Dev adds gangs of Ireland rebranding. Um, uh, other comments here. We have Stephen Garland. Stephen, hope you're well out there. Thanks for adding to today's show. He says the Dorset police not pro can card, I guess. Mental what is happening. What year is it? Yeah, that's actually good to point out there that the can card that's going to be rolling out in the UK next month. I wonder where the Dorset police stand on that. Yeah, it'd be an interesting one to see, I suppose. But yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, they're probably not pro can card. They probably don't like the idea of it. They probably see it as being threatening to their job. They probably see themselves being less busy out there, not busting cannabis people. Instead, they'll actually have to go after the scumbags who are robbing houses and raping and murdering people. That's the sad reality of it. Um, yeah, Dave adds then if cannabis became legal in England, it would become legal here a lot quicker. Yeah, because sadly, our government are like fucking sheep when it comes to England, man. We follow them head and toe. Like, yeah, we should be the leaders. I'm saying it like all the time. Like, we're missing a great opportunity. Every second that goes by is a major waste of time in terms of like taking advantage of Ireland competing on the global stage in the cannabis industry. You know, it's a sad reality. Um, so we Dave there adding, I'd visit my sister every other weekend. They'll need to make money with Brexit. Oh yeah, if they legalise it, yeah. And we flick on down there again. He is a Nazi. Nice one for agreeing with me there, Ken. I don't like to use the term Nazi because when you call somebody a Nazi, some people out there in the politically correct world kind of tend to switch off and think that like, oh, you shouldn't call anybody a Nazi because it's like, no, it's not. It's like he who should not be named like the Nazis. We shouldn't talk about him or something. I don't know. But like, yeah, it is kind of Nazism, really, like just really punishing people because you don't agree with their behavior or their background. Um, no punches pulled. Fair play, Martin. Nice one there, Stephen, again for your contribution. King Green says his views on alcohol as a safe drug is uneducated, and overdosing there. Ken's laughing at that then as well when it comes to the cannabis edibles and overdosing. And mental health week, actually, it is Ken has correctly updated me on that. Pity our country doesn't have a decent system. Yeah, I agree with you, man. It is a crying shame, actually. So much money and resources wasted fighting like the drugs out there. And meanwhile, like we have, the last time I seen it, it was 8,000 kids are on a waiting list to be seen on the CAMS kind of waiting list. That's the child mental health services where they go in and see a professional and have their issues kind of dealt with. 8,000 children. But meanwhile, the state has more than enough money to hold these joint policing committee meetings for these big fat dudes there, like your man, and and then like to host all of these raids that they do, to fund the Gardaí to go out to carry out these intelligence-led operations. Like we can waste millions upon millions of taxpayers' money on that, but meanwhile, like our health services are going on majorly underfunded, to the point where the private services are taking advantage of it. Yeah, it's a sad reality. Like where if you're poor, you're going to suffer, and there's it's reflected across the board in the UK that it's, even with the medical cannabis, if you're poor, you're pulled to the stage where you have to grow it yourself or buy it off the street dealer because you can't afford the very expensive prescription, and you're still going to be criminalised for it. In Ireland, like if you can't afford to come from an upper class area, you're much more likely to be stopped and searched for drugs than a person from those kind of upper class areas. Like it's a sad state. And yeah, that is all the comments there, guys. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. We're just pushing on the hour mark there now, so I will end it there, guys, for today. And as always, don't forget to go over, check out the Patreon if you want to support the show and the development of a cannabis activist hub in Ireland. And if you also want to just support the efforts for legalization of cannabis in Ireland, it's patreon.com/Martin's World. And you also have martinsworld.ie. There's a little button up there where you can make donations with Bitcoins as well. So both are good. All of the money you donate, none of it will be put into my pocket at all. All of it will be used to forming and establishing a cannabis activist hub in Cork City, so we can work on and be more effective in legalising cannabis in Ireland. So guys, until Wednesday, keep her lit, stay blazed. Peace.